Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of Living with Purpose podcast. Today, I have Tim Johnson, who is the founder and CEO of Health in Tech, which is a NASDAQ listed company. He is also a serial entrepreneur that has been a business leader and a community leader, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. So please join me in welcoming Tim Johnson.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
You just shared with me that you are Midwest born. So talk a little bit about your journey. Like, where were you born? How did you grow up? What were some of the seminal moments? And how that has led you to do what you're doing today?
I come from Iowa. I live in Iowa. I grew up in a very rural Midwestern town. My mother was a teacher. My father did work for the power company. I went to a smaller state school in Missouri. But what I learned from my father and my family in general, and the people that I grew up with, hard work is what makes you successful. And by success, I don't mean money. I mean, you accomplish things, you get things done. You get up in the morning, you go to work early, you work hard, you get your job done, you fix things, you build things. I'm a builder by nature because my father was a builder by nature. My brother is in the construction industry. Everybody I know has some sort of job, whether it's electrical or plumbing or whatever. There's a lot of engineers I know, but we build things in the Midwest. My father used to tell me, if you want it and you can't buy it, you better build it or fix it. So you got to figure it out because we didn't have a lot of money growing up. I didn't have much money at all. So that was my nature to be a builder. Now, I didn't realize what that meant at the time, other than I worked hard. My father used to get me out of bed when I was a very young kid, and he'd drag me to construction sites and he would rebuild houses and do different things. And he would put me to work. So that's what I did. And so the work ethic is definitely there. But as I grew up, I knew I didn't want to be that. I didn't really enjoy cold weather, the hot weather, and being out swinging a hammer or whatever it is. I thought that I always wanted something different, not more, but different. So I went to school on a baseball scholarship. The baseball didn't work out. I got frustrated with the coach, long story, but I did find that I learned how to learn. Okay. That's what college taught me. College taught me I was very scared. I was in a new environment. I got to high school okay, but when I went to college, I was intimidated by all these people and professors. That's not where I grew up. I'm in a different environment now, and I wanted to succeed. I don't fail. Okay, that's who I am. I will not fail. So I will tell you, I learned how to learn. All I did was study. I studied and studied, and I worked my butt off. And I got good grades. I wouldn't say I was an A student, but I was a B plus student. That's for sure. Taking that into the next step. So I went out. I didn't know what I was going to do. I accidentally got into an insurance job and I actually liked it. I was in claims and I was really good at it. I was really good at negotiating and talking through large claims and understanding how not to put myself in a corner or the company in a corner, how not to say the wrong thing. I had some good mentors in business, a few lawyers. One of them used to drag me around the country and we would negotiate very large settlements for AIG and other large insurance companies. And then I went from there to a brokerage firm and I learned what a brokerage firm did and the property and casualty side, the benefit side. And I will tell you this, I figured out I was about to lose every job I had. I was outgrowing the job faster than they wanted me to. And I was outgrowing my boss's job. I was frustrated because I could see these things at these companies and I'm like, fix this, do that. They don't want to hear it. Okay. The status quo is great with them. They like it. That you're not ruffling feathers. They don't mind sitting at their desk every day, getting paid, whatever they get paid. I did not want to be that way. So every job I was just about to lose before I left. And finally, I decided I can't keep doing this. I have to start my own company. I have to do something. Well, right about that time, I stumbled into the benefits out of it. I was always on the property and casualty side. And I stumbled into an opportunity where I was a part of the first group stop loss captive being built. Okay, Captive is a virtual insurance company, and that's what I was building for these brokerage firms. And so I was a part of that. And I thought, well, nobody's doing this. I'm going to take it and I'm going to start my own company. And that's what I did. I had nothing. I was going to lose my job at some point, so I had to go do something. And I apologize that this is taking long, but that's the journey. It is what it is. Eventually, I started building these captive stop loss companies, and I would call people like third-party administrators or brokerage firms. But what I found is that I was educating them along the way, and they were quickly becoming my competition. I had no money. They had capital. They could build faster than me. They could put it up faster than me. Well, what I also figured out was that the power doesn't reside in the idea. The power resides with the carrier, okay? The entity that has the pen, so to speak, that can assume the risk. That's where the power is at, because they get to dictate terms. So I knew I had to become my own insurance company. And I'm like, that's a pretty bold idea for a guy sitting on his couch doing this stuff all day long and at night without any money. So I learned how to become an underwriter. So I started my own underwriting company. And after that, I was building up enough money, and I actually talked some carriers into allowing me to assume some risk in the programs. And I started taking some risk. And then eventually I started some other companies that fed my company. In other words, I was in this industry about the time when reference-based pricing came in, and it was the next latest and greatest thing. So I started a company. I ended up selling it because that industry, that model was going to change. It was going to change quickly. And what I mean by that is you can't keep fighting with hospitals. Okay, that's what reference-based pricing is. You need to have direct contracts. So I started my own company writing direct contracts with hospitals. So all of these companies I would build fed off of each other. They built and built and built. So I was building this vertical model within an industry that didn't have what I was doing. And at some point, I knew I needed to become more efficient. And the only way I could become more efficient, because our industry, property and casualty, where I came from, before I left it, it was way more efficient and productive than the way the medical underwriting and the way people submitted submissions, the way brokers gave me data. Property and casualty was already advanced. Medical wasn't. So I was trying to figure out how to do that. And about that time, there were things like the AI was coming into play, so you could get medical information quicker. You could, some of the technologies were speeding up. What I did, I knew that I had to have technology to increase our speed. So I created a company called DIBS, Do-It-Yourself Benefit Systems. In that system, I asked somebody to write some software for me where the brokers do the work. I couldn't keep up with the work. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm a one-man band sitting on my couch. I have these different companies. I'm outsourcing, doing different things. I couldn't keep up. So I created a way for the brokers to do most of the work. And then all I had to do was underwrite. That is the premise of where we are today. So through AI, data parsing, all of this latest technology, I have a big tech side of our company now. And what we're doing is we have created so many efficiencies where our systems manage the entire submission process, the underwriting process, the data. You no longer have to pull data out manually. The data can be parsed and pulled out of this PDF, this JPEG, this picture. And that technology is where we are really leveraging that right now to change the entire industry, because so far we're the only ones really doing some of these things. That's where I'm at. So I apologize for the long story, but it is quite a journey.
No, it's quite a journey, right? So let me take you back. And I love what you just said, that I learned how to learn.
Yep.
I'm at the University of Washington, and that's exactly what I try and do, is to really get people to understand how you gain knowledge. That it is not about gaining information. It is actually turning information into knowledge. And what you have been doing, which I find very fascinating with what you actually said, is, look, ideas are fine, but it's that conversion of ideas into actuality that actually generates benefit. and control that process will succeed. So, in some ways, that's a very interesting way in which you've kind of just outlined your learning. So, let me take you back to what did you study in college?
I took the basic, which was business management and business marketing. I had a marketing and management BSBA degree. And because I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do at that point. So I just took business.
So, you did business. And then, how did you land up in the insurance industry? Was it just because that was the first thing that came to you, or because something happened somewhere?
It's a great story. So I got out of college and I applied for a job. It was a retail job. I moved away for a year to Pennsylvania. I didn't like it. I came back and I got back into what I was telling you, the construction business, because that's what my family knows. So I was doing that. And winter night was very cold. You do not want to be outside swinging a hammer. So a friend of mine asked me to go visit them, and they were living in Nashville. So I went down there. His boss worked for an insurance company, a small insurance company out of Owatonna, Minnesota. And I started working. He asked me, he liked me. And he goes, "You want a job?" And I'm like, "Sure." I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but I started being a claims adjuster. I had no idea what I was doing. And I packed up and I moved to Nashville. And that was my first job in insurance.
So this is, again, this very interesting thing, right? I always live by this credo of when opportunities come, at least peek and open the door slightly to see what the opportunity is.
Right.
Don't say no. And by just entering into a realm, you can actually find out lots of things about you. And I think, Tim, your approach just kind of personifies that, right? That, hey, I'm going on this journey, and on each journey, things are going to happen. And along with that, I will actually learn and turn that learning into knowledge that can actually help me create something that changes. So, talk a little bit about where you are now and how purpose is driving your journey today.
So, along the journey that we're talking about here, I had my own health event, and it was very unsatisfactory to me. And I started getting more frustrated with that process, the healthcare process, not the insurance process. Okay. I was working on that already, but I also wanted to make an impact on how healthcare is delivered. I will tell you that if you talk to 10 people who have had a healthcare experience, 9 out of 10 of them are going to say it's horrible. And as I started figuring out what I wanted to do with the insurance side of it, how the technology and all of that I want to build, I wrote a paper that I didn't share with anybody. Only a few people that I know. I wrote a paper in 2019 as I was sitting in China. I was very jet lagged, and I was sitting watching people in the morning as the sun was coming up. There were piles of bicycles, 3 different yellow, orange, and blue bicycles. And I was watching them, and I'm thinking about what it is I'm doing, and I'm drinking a coffee, and the sun's up. And people were walking up to these bicycles, and I heard a click. I couldn't see because it was still dark out, but I heard a click every time. Eventually, I saw them using a phone. And the phone was unlocking a lock on the back of it, and they were getting a bike. I don't know how they chose what color of bike they got, but I'm like, that is interesting. I wonder if they were doing something similar in the healthcare side. Okay, because I just had my health event. I'm in China for another business reason, and I started walking. I Googled clinic or something. I don't even remember what I was I Googled, but I found a hospital. I walked into the hospital. They just let me walk in, and every time the door opened, the thing went off. And I'm like, it sounded like a grocery store or something, And I go in and I sit down, and I'm watching all these people come in, sit down. Nobody speaks English there, and I'm not trying to talk to anybody. I'm just sitting there watching. And I kept hearing the ding. And when somebody would come out and they would ask the people to come back with them, they knew they were there. And what I eventually find out is they knew they were there. They knew why they were there, what they were there to be treated for, and everything. And I'm like, that is not the experience that I had at my hospital. I had to fill out all this paperwork. I had a miserable time, and people didn't know. I mean, 3 different times with 3 different people at the hospital that I was getting treated for. Ridiculous. What I was thinking was, how do we improve the experience, not just the insurance side? Now I'm combining because the only way that we're going to solve this problem is to combine both sides of the fence, right? You have the medical people, the physicians, the hospitals, and you have the insurance side of this. Today, they don't talk. They hate each other. They don't, they fight all the time. It's this battle back and forth. Well, I'm going to figure out, and I have a way right now where we are working with both sides. My journey to answer your question, what I want to do is I want to figure out now, how do we make both sides work as one on the same side and you get a better experience?
But this is such a fascinating story, right? A couple of things that you've just now highlighted, which I want our listeners to kind of embody. One, learn to learn. Two, observe. And when you observe, actually think through that observation, because it can generate ideas for you.
Yeah.
And that generation of ideas can actually lead to something constructive, which is just a fascinating way of how, and I'm quite sure that this is something that you have learned just in the construction trade. I'm an architect by training. I had been on many construction sites. I've built bathrooms and put things together. What it takes to actually make sure that you are not just doing things, but observing things very carefully. So coming back to your purpose, talk about the importance of purpose for you and how purpose has actually given you the ability to overcome challenges that come in your life.
Oh boy. I'm not necessarily going to say I'm a benevolent type person. I do want to do right by people. I do. I am definitely a person not driven by money. It is not my purpose to make money. Okay. Granted, we all need to make money. I enjoy making money. That's not the reason. I will tell you that I have met people that their purpose in life is to make money, and it's very short. Okay. They have short events. That is not longevity. Longevity for me is to build something that sustains, that changes an entire way of healthcare is, if not the biggest industry in the US, it's one of the top 2 or 3. I want to change the way people perceive it and the way that they interact with their physicians. It has to be better. The physicians need to be working better with the patients. The patients need better communication all the way around. These are not big issues. They're just not. It's the lack of communication and the lack of transparency that's stopping all of this. I want people to get the right information, the right insurance, whatever it is they want, but it's how we feed the data back and forth. So, I hope I'm answering your question, but where we are today, I tell the people that work with me, our problem isn't all this other stuff. It's because we don't communicate with each other well. You're not talking to this department, department's not talking to you. And even if you do talk, you're not saying what you really need to say, and you're not listening to what you really need to be listening to. It's simple. And I'm not a complicated person. I simplify everything. So when I get on a call, I'm like, you guys just aren't listening to each other. It's lack of proper communication. Be a better listener. Be a better communicator. That's where I'm at. And I think that our healthcare system, through transparency, obviously some things have to change. I want to share, there's no reason why data cannot be shared with everybody. It's my data. If it's my health information at that doctor, why can't I have it? Well, the obvious answer would be you do not have a place with which I'm the hospital or physician, can share with you in a secure environment. Well, guess what? I've got that for you today. So here you go. But now everybody has an app, and there's 50 apps out there. I don't know which app to use. I'm putting everything in one place. So my solution is I want a complete solution for everybody to have the data they need to do their job or to be treated in a better way. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it?
Again, I just want to reiterate that purpose is not about giving back, right? Purpose is not about charity. Purpose is not about philanthropy. Purpose is really the way you show up and how you show up to extend the common good. That's your why. Why do you exist?
Yeah.
I think what you are doing is really changing the way in which people get their health benefits and we become healthy. And I think that to me is extremely important. We're coming very close to the end of our podcast time. So I want you to kind of share your one golden nugget, a piece of wisdom that you want to leave behind for our listeners.
The one that I want to share, a gentleman told me this one time. I came in, I was really excited about, and I don't even remember what the subject was that we was talking about, but I was very excited about it. And he listened intently to me for 10 minutes, goes this, and he goes, young man, I don't want you to confuse effort with success, which is exactly what you're doing. And I started thinking about that. And I didn't think about it at the time, but I left there and I thought about it. And this was 25 years ago or 30 years ago when he told me. And my daily routine is to not confuse effort with success. Okay, so the biggest lie we tell is the lie we tell ourselves. I stopped lying to myself very early in my career with going out on my own because I can't sit here today and tell me I worked hard enough and I did all the right things, but yet I didn't make a sale. I didn't move the ball forward. So I stopped lying on day one, saying I didn't work hard enough. I didn't make enough phone calls. I didn't say the right thing. What can I learn from those phone calls that I made all day today that I didn't get a sale from? I have to change. I have to be better. That is the golden nugget that I think everybody, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, work for yourself, you cannot lie to yourself. You cannot confuse effort with success. You have to succeed every day and stop lying to yourself that you did the right thing.
So that's such a wonderful nugget, right? That effort does not equate to success.
Correct.
Tim, thank you so very much for being on the podcast. Your journey is very fascinating, and I hope our listeners get inspired by the fact that you should learn how to learn and don't confuse effort with success. Learn from your efforts.
Yeah.
Become better. And purpose really gives you the strength and your values to be able to be on that continuous journey of improvement. It's that renewable source of energy that continues to drive humanity forward. Use your purpose. Thank you all very much for listening to this podcast. Again, if you want to be part of our book, Living with Purpose, reach out to us. And Tim, thank you so much for being part of the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.